Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. You know, it's amazing we've crossed 2,500 views in just 3 weeks. We are so thankful for you sticking with us as we figure things out.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Speaking of wild, someone reached out with a situation that has us scratching our heads. It involves a manager with, let's say, a unique track record.
Do you mean how?
Well, they almost always seem to win a trophy in their second season at a club.
Oh, wow. So it's like a guarantee.
Pretty much. But this season, let's just say things haven't exactly gone according to plan. They've been knocked out of 2 cups in just 4 days, the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, and on top of that, the team is currently sitting in the bottom half of the table.
Bottom half. That doesn't sound like a team ready to win trophies.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And to make matters even worse, they have a massive injury crisis.
How massive are we talking?
11 senior players out.
11. Wow, that's more than just bad luck, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you start to wonder if there's something else going on.
It makes you wonder if it really is just injuries or if maybe, just maybe, it's a bit of a convenient excuse.
Maybe. And, the manager has been really emphasizing those injuries, constantly saying that they're the main reason for the team's poor form.
Understandable. To a point, I guess. But do you think maybe focusing so much on those external factors could be hiding some internal issues?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, are there tactical adjustments he could be making, different training methods that would help the team cope better with so many players out?
It's a good point. You have to adapt, right? But here's the thing. Even when the team was relatively healthy earlier this season, they had some really surprising losses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, remember that loss against Crystal Palace?
Ah, yes, Crystal Palace. They hadn't won a single Premier League game all season before that.
Exactly. And there was also that loss against Ipswich Town, on their home turf, no less.
Yeah, those kinds of results against weaker teams, they make you think maybe there's something more going on, even beyond the injuries.
Yeah. Makes you wonder about, I don't know, maybe some underlying tactical issues, lack of motivation in the squad or something like that.
Yeah, and all this happening while this manager has this whole second season prophecy thing going on.
Second season prophecy. Remind me about that.
Right, so it's not really a prophecy, but more like a pattern this manager has. They win a major trophy in their second season at every club they've managed.
Wow, every club. That's quite a record.
It is. It's like their trademark.
Okay, so second season, trophy guaranteed.
Yeah.
But how does that work with what's happening now? They seem miles away from a trophy this year.
It's a really interesting contrast, isn't it? On the one hand, you have this historical pattern that says success is just around the corner. But on the other, you have this reality of injuries and being near the bottom of the table.
Exactly. So are the fans still buying into this prophecy, or have they lost faith?
It seems like the fans are pretty split on this one.
Really?
Yeah, you have some who are still optimistic. They're pointing to all the injuries as the reason for the struggles and saying that once everyone's healthy, the manager will get things back on track.
So they're saying, just wait. The magic will happen. But what about the other side?
The other side is a bit more, let's say, impatient. They think the manager is using the injuries as an excuse.
To hide what?
To hide some deeper issues like tactical mistakes or questionable decisions.
So they're not letting him off the hook. What specifically are they upset about?
Oh, all kinds of things. They're questioning his tactics, his team selection, even his training methods. They say his style of play is too demanding physically, and that's why they have so many injuries.
So they're saying the injuries are actually his fault.
Some of them are saying that, yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and then they're also pointing to things like his reluctance to play certain players, There's one player, we can call him Player A, who wasn't getting any game time until another key player, Player B, got injured.
Yeah.
And Player A has been one of their best performers in recent weeks.
That does make you think, huh?
It does. It makes you question the manager's judgment. Maybe he's a little too set in his ways, not very good at adapting to what he has.
It's like he's stuck in the past, trying to use what worked before, even though it's clearly not working now.
Exactly. And then on top of all this, you have the club's chairman, let's just call him the chairman, who's adding another layer to all of this.
Oh, yeah, the chairman. What's he doing?
Well, some fans are saying he's been meddling in football decisions, and it hasn't been good for the team.
Meddling? Like how?
They're pointing to things like the club's one-in, one-out transfer policy.
Oh, yeah, that policy.
So basically, they can only buy a player if they sell one first.
Right, which is a really tough way to improve the team.
Exactly. The fans see it as a sign that the chairman isn't ambitious enough, that he cares more about saving money than winning.
So we have unhappy fans, a manager under pressure, and a chairman who might be meddling. This does not sound good.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is.
Lots of pressure, different opinions, and really high stakes.
And our manager is right in the middle of it all, trying to figure out how to get through it.
It really is a fascinating situation, isn't it? All these expectations, financial stuff, and the pressure to win, all with this manager and his second season thing looming over everything.
It really is like a whole drama playing out on the pitch.
Yeah, like we're waiting to see what happens next. And you know who else has opinions on all this?
Who?
The pundits, of course.
Oh, the pundits. You know, things are getting serious when they start chiming in. What have they been saying about all of this?
Well, they have a wide range of opinions, as you might imagine.
I bet.
Some of them are sympathetic to the manager. You know, they talk about the crazy injury situation and say it's hard to judge him fairly with so many players missing.
Yeah, I mean, it must be tough to get results when half your team is injured.
Exactly. But then some pundits are saying that the injuries are not a good enough excuse.
Oh, so they're putting the blame on the manager.
Yeah, they say his tactics are too rigid, that he's too stubborn, and that's why they're not doing well.
So they're saying even when the team was healthier, they were still showing signs of trouble.
That's what they're saying. They point to those losses against the weaker teams from earlier in the season as evidence that something isn't right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about the second season prophecy? Do the pundits think it can still happen?
Most of them, even the ones who are defending the manager, they're saying the prophecy is basically dead this year.
Oh, wow. So they really don't see a way for him to turn things around.
They say it's just too much to overcome. The league standings, all the injured players, the bad results recently, it just doesn't look good.
So the prophecy that was once a source of hope is now more like a weight dragging him down.
Yeah, exactly. The expectations were so high, maybe too high.
It's a classic case of too much hype, right?
Mhm.
He set the bar really high with his past successes, and now he can't live up to it.
It's a tough spot to be in, for sure. And remember that decision the manager made to give the players 2 days off after those cup losses.
Yeah, that was a strange one.
It was, and the pundits have been debating it like crazy.
So some think it was a good idea, some think it was a bad idea.
Exactly. Some say it was a sign of weakness, like he's giving up. They say the team should be working harder, not taking breaks.
Right, like they need to be punished or something.
Yeah, but then others say that it was a smart move, that he understands his players need rest, especially after everything they've been through.
So is he coddling them? Or is he being smart?
Yeah.
It's so interesting how people can see the same thing in such different ways.
It is, and this all ties into how the pundits see him as a leader.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So what are they saying about his leadership?
It's totally divided. Some pundits love him. They praise his belief in his system, his commitment to attacking football, his ability to motivate players.
So they say he's a true leader.
Yeah, they see him as a visionary, someone who's not afraid to take risks even when things get tough.
But I bet not everyone sees it that way.
Yep.
You're right. Others say he's stubborn, inflexible, and totally out of touch with reality. They say he's too focused on his own ideas and not willing to adapt to what's happening around him.
Wow, so it's really two extremes.
It really is. Two completely opposite views of the same person, and they both have their arguments. It's fascinating to see.
Yeah, I guess that shows you that there's no one right way to be a leader.
Right. Exactly. And that judging someone's performance is really complicated, especially in something like football.
Absolutely. So we've heard from the fans, we've heard from the pundits, but the big question is, what happens next?
That is the million-dollar question. Will he be able to prove everyone wrong and turn things around?
Or will he crash and burn?
Only time will tell.
Okay, so we've talked about his history, that whole second season things, all the injuries, the tactics, what the fans are saying, what the pundits are saying. It's a lot.
It really is.
What I want to know now is what could actually happen next? Like realistically.
Yeah, it's like we're all waiting to see what happens in the next episode.
Exactly. So what are some of the possibilities here?
Well, one possibility, let's call it the defiant comeback, is that he somehow manages to turn it all around. He gets the team playing well again, maybe make some changes, and they not only qualify for the Europa League, but maybe even go far in the tournament.
Okay, so that's the happy ending. He proves everyone wrong and becomes the hero.
Right, the underdog story. But let's be real, it would be pretty amazing considering how things are going right now.
Yeah, it would be quite a turnaround. It feels like a long shot.
It does. It's the best case scenario, but maybe not the most likely one. Probably a more realistic scenario, we can call this the slow decline, is that the team just keeps struggling.
Oh, no. The sad ending.
Yeah, basically. They keep losing, the pressure on him keeps building, and eventually the club decides to make a change.
So he gets fired.
Yeah. It's happened to a lot of managers, right? They start strong, have some success, but then things fall apart and they can't get it back.
The classic rise and fall.
Exactly. But there is another possibility, a kind of middle ground between those two extremes. We could call this one the pragmatic pivot.
Ooh, I like that, the pragmatic pivot. What did that look like?
So in this scenario, the manager realizes things aren't working and he makes some big changes, like changes to the tactics, gives different players a chance, maybe even changes how he communicates with the team and the fans.
So it's like he's saying, okay, I need to do things differently.
Yeah, it takes a lot to admit you were wrong, especially when you've been successful before. But sometimes you need to adapt to find success again.
It's like that saying you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
Right, so he needs to be flexible, open to new ideas, experiment a little.
It's about being willing to change and grow.
Exactly. And that's a good lesson for all of us, I think, not just in football, but in life, too. Being able to adapt is so important.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's think about what we can all learn from this, even if we're not football managers. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a story about more than just winning or losing games. It's about dealing with setbacks, questioning yourself, and trying to perform under pressure. Things we all experience in some way.
It's a reminder that even if you've been successful in the past, there are no guarantees. And that being able to adapt and overcome challenges is what really makes you successful in the long run.
That's a great way to put it. So as you go about your day, think about those things. What are you holding on to that maybe isn't working anymore? Maybe it's time for your own pragmatic pivot.
Great advice. It's all about learning, growing, and never being afraid to change.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into leadership, resilience, and the world of football.
And thank you for listening.
See you next time.